Well, episode 1 was more popular than I expected, so I guess I'd better get on with this. Hello, welcome back to RailStuff. My name's Adam, and this is episode 2 of the £100 layout challenge. What you see before you may contain some clues, or it may not. I already had that logo, so don't worry, that's not something I've been and spent money on, but there is something in the background that I've spent money on, and I have got some other stuff on the way as well. But in this episode, I wanted to turn things over to you guys and look at the incredible suggestions and challenges that I had in the comments section on the last video. Right, let's get on with it. So, yeah, that all ended up a little bit more popular than I expected. I'm very pleased, and first of all, thank you to all of you who watched episode 1 and all of you who commented on it as well. It's great to see that there is some interest in this challenge, so let's see what we can do. First of all, for those of you who weren't with us in episode 1, let's start with a recap of the rules. I'm trying to build a layout for £100 or less, and it must complete a loop of track. And look, that rule is back in place. This layout will go on display at the RailStuff Open Day on the 6th of December in Uttoxeter, and for it to run all day, it needs to complete a loop of track. It's a simple thing, so let's do that. Second one, must have at least one set of points. Third one, must feature at least one locomotive and one wagon or coach, so one piece of rolling stock. Must be able to run the locomotive for a full loop. That one's back in play as well. Must not have any of the baseboard surface exposed, so it's all got to be covered in some way, shape or form. Must have at least one building, must have at least one tree or bush. And well done to all of those who found me saying significant bush in the last video somewhat amusing. Yes, I'm looking at you, Richard Watson. There was rules around the budget as well, so there's £100 available to spend, exclusions being postage costs, baseboard material, I'll come back to that one later, general tools and adhesives, and basic track cleaning material. I also stipulated that any items that I use from my own stock or that I can buy from one of my suppliers has to be accounted for at full RRP and not discounted. So, no cheating, basically. So what I wanted to do in this video to start off with was turn things over to you guys and see what it was that you had suggested, because there's been some phenomenal suggestions. There's been some harsh challenges as well, but some of those we'll tackle. Some of them just got disliked and ignored for those who got a bit rude about things, but for the majority of you, your comments were fantastic and really got me thinking and opened my eyes to some things that I hadn't thought about. So let's have a look at so I've grouped these ones together. The first thing that I hadn't thought about was 009. So thank you, Alan Maynard. Have you considered 009? There are quite a few 3D printed locos and rolling stock. Hadn't even considered 3D printed stuff. I've been using PWM controllers, so we'll come back to PWM controllers shortly. He says works a treat. 2 lengths of flexi and a point should be reasonable. Card buildings available from scale scenes. Yeah, great. Okay, but 009 I hadn't considered. And he wasn't the only one. Simon Leach, I second this. 009 is a great shout. Same scale as 00, but can run on standard N-gauge track. Might be cheaper to use that and cut off some sleepers with a knife, but yeah, me and knives, not the most sensible combination, but you know, from a budget consideration, yeah, I get it. 009, you know, maybe better for enthusiast level. Yeah, I can see all of that, and I really hadn't considered it, and it looks more realistic on a tighter radius curve. Good stuff. Barry Hinks also said, what about 009? When the track is N gauge but scenery is 00, you can buy a Kato motor and just put a kit body on it. I didn't know that, but you can buy Kato powered bogies and powered chassis and then put a kit body on it. Fantastic. And then I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but Luck Belade or Loose Belade, I don't know, but that guy there, nice hat. I think it has been mentioned before, but narrow gauge might give you a bit more flexibility. You should find numerous kits 3D printed for Kato chassis. The rolling stock could be scratch built. Probably not. And £5 to £6 controller, already mentioned before as well. Okay, so 009. Great shout, hadn't considered it. There is one challenge that involves a little bit of scratch building on the loco and rolling stock side, which is not my forte. I would like something that's ready to run. I know I'm asking a lot for £100 here, but I would like something ready to run. But it's a consideration, but I'm going to admit something that I probably shouldn't, especially 2 days before I go to the 7mm Narrow Gauge Association AGM. I'm not a fan of narrow gauge. It just doesn't look right to me. But that's just me. That's my personal thought. What else was said? Subject of scratch building. DH says, it seems to me that layouts often end up being expensive because as hobbyists we have stopped scratch building. Yeah, do you know what? A lot of people have. Forget the 3D printer and go for card, glue, plastic card, wood and stuff from the spares box. Nice. Forget the cast resin buildings and go for card, or in 00 the lovely dated Airfix Dapol structures. Yeah, I stocked some of those actually, and they're still pretty good. Best wishes, thank you. And also Wayne McClellan said, well, in fact he was one of the ones who gave me loads of things to think about, but in there he talked about scenery can be made up from the backyard or neighbourhood, trees and bushes, no charge. Buildings, stations, houses, sheds, etc. made from boxes and bits from around the house. And I think I'm probably going to end up getting more creative on the scenery and building side. The track and anything that runs on the track, like I said before, is not my forte to scratch build. So I've had some pretty clear thoughts on that front, which we'll get to probably in the next video. Then there was some more thoughts on how you could do things cheaper. So English Oak Recruit, I love some people's names on YouTube, it's great. I'm very much building a layout on a budget, good for you. Not £100, but still very much doing it on a shoestring. A few things I've found, lots of free downloadable kits available online from Kingsway and Scale Scenes. Yeah, I haven't heard of Kingsway, heard of Scale Scenes, which if you're okay with Publisher or another piece of software, you can customize to suit your needs. I can do a little bit on software, so yeah. You can also find some free brick paper online. Yeah, also an interesting thought. Pound Shop is great for glues, etc. Now, as a seller of premium glues and adhesives, I agree. He's good. You know, some of the more specialist stuff, you know, obviously head to rail-stuff.com. Yeah, there's some good basic stuff as well. Secondhand track works fine. So yeah, it's an interesting thought. I've had challenges with secondhand track in the past. So that one we will come back to. Look in the kitchen for scenic items, herbs, tea leaves, etc. are all good for modelling. Yeah, aren't they just? Okay, I'm liking that thought process. And Javis Scenics are perfectly good for a couple of pounds a bag compared to the prices of Woodland Scenics products. I agree with you about Woodland Scenics. There are scenic brands out there where it is worth spending a little bit more. But if you're doing a layout for £100 or less, then yeah, a bit of Javis will go down very well. Thank you very much. Finally, the cheapest second-hand items at shows rather than online. Yeah, true that. I don't tend to haggle. As a trader myself, I don't tend to haggle, but I understand why people do. Then we got a celebrity comment. Tom from Buggles Kelly Station. If you haven't checked out Buggles Kelly Station YouTube channel or even his website, go do it. And I think he's got an event on this weekend, Will Hay Memorial Day. Go check it out on his socials anyway. Anything that Tom does, well worth taking a look at. He said that he would personally stick with 00 because you can get some 90s sets dirt cheap and you'll get everything you need for under 50 quid, leaving some budget to make interesting scenics. Now, he says static grass puffer bottle. Wow, I haven't used a puffer bottle for some years, but I think that's a great shout. And actually you can get some really good effects with it, so great shout, Tom. He advocates scratch building buildings and trees with free stuff. Yeah, so it's a great idea. He's the only person to have mentioned clockwork models, by the way, and then rightly says, mind you, you need to employ somebody to wind the loco up every couple of minutes. Well, Tom, I think you're coming to the open day, so, you know, job for you, maybe not. Musedo says, shouldn't need to spend £5 on a tree. Buildings too. I made passable cottages from corrugated cardboard and some paint. Anyway, your video is timely, makes me think about how to achieve something nice for not much money. Few people with those kind of sentiments, and if I've inspired anyone to go and do something, then that puts a big smile on my face. So, a longer comment now from Barcroft Laboratories, and this is where we get a little bit into the techie side. PWM controller could be the way to go, and you might remember in episode 1 I showed a kit that I've bought previously, but that kit is far too pricey. Probably, but it comes with lots of things to make it look pretty, and LEDs and case and front panels and all kinds of stuff like that. A PWM module is £3.50 to £4 on eBay. 12 volt DC wall wart power supplies can be picked up for £1 at a car boot, or you know, maybe you've got one from an old router or an old digital picture frame. I've got plenty of them, but I'm going to source one just to show that we can. Case the whole thing in plastic lunchbox. I love that idea. Or I might have some little plastic boxes around, you know, that I can use for that. So total spend on power less than £6. Yep, agreed. Now this guy found a bargain. Last year I found an N-gauge train pack starter set for £40 at the car boot. Yeah, that is a real bargain. You need a good car boot sale, and you need to go every weekend. Great advice. If you've got the time to go to car boot sales, do it. You can find absolute peaches there. I love this last comment, by the way. Do the rules allow you to go over budget on an eBay job lot, then sell what you don't need individually to make back the money? They do and they don't. I haven't stipulated it. For this challenge, and there's a an emphasis on the word this that I'll come back to in a second. For this challenge, I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to firmly stick below £100. In the future, I'm going to come back to this challenge and do a couple more based on some of your ideas. So I may do a 009. I may well do one where I can spend however much I want, but I will then sell bits that I don't use, and as long as the total thing comes in less than £100 net spend, then that's good. So I might come back and do that in the future. But for this one, £100 layout challenge is all about how much I spend. And then another set of big thoughts, this time from Railway Falcon. So he said, and look, the reason I've put some of these long thoughts in is, first of all, just to show how amazingly grateful I am to people for the thought that they've put into some of their feedback and input. Really appreciate it. He suggested end-to-end with the capacity to add track onto the end. That kind of modular approach, I love the idea of. It also means that you can add a temporary extension that isn't part of the challenge. So if I go to a show or whatever, I can just stick a big loop around to allow it to run all day. Love that idea as well. And again, might be something that I come back to in the future. Defining what level of modelling I would expect this to be needed for is a good point. And again, might be something that we refer back to. But right now, it's kind of just, let's get it to under £100 and see what we can do. Then a contentious point, which ties in with my next comment as well. So I'll come back to that in a second. Number 4 was going up in scale is worth a look, especially in narrow gauge. That goes back to the 009 idea. And then he said there was a spate of Hornby sets that not only came with a point, but also some scenic items, including a couple of huts. So, you know, I could just do the whole thing by just buying one of those. And that's great. I haven't come across them yet, but I'll keep an eye out for sure. So coming back to point 3, skipping the baseboard costs is dubious to me. For existing modelers, it's probably fine, but not everyone will have a store of spare wood they can use. Fair enough. If nothing else, not everyone will have room to store any. Also fair. Whilst I fully approve of you using material you have, I would suggest pricing up an equivalent and ideally including it in the budget, but it's your challenge. It is, thank you. Nothing says a baseboard has to be wood though. Good point. I've seen a couple of these projects successfully use corrugated card. I've seen stuff on foam board, Correx board, stuff like that as well. But I have made a decision on baseboard that was really prompted by this. Paul James. Can you build a model railway for under £100? Of course you can, if you deliberately leave out the £100 it costs for the timber to put it on. Can I build a wooden baseboard and actually buy the materials to do it and it not spend, it cost £100? Okay, I'm not including it in the budget because they were the rules that I set, but just to show that I could do it for a low price, let's see what I can come up with. Yes, my learned friends, that is what you will call a 1 metre by 1 metre pallet. Not just any old pallet though, it's a recycled pallet. This one I went on the dreaded Facebook marketplace and got for just £3. Now, as we know, pallet wood is a bit rough and ready and often has nails sticking out and is just splinter central. But I started to cut it down because I wanted half the width but still the full length. I'd made a decision that I was going to be just over ½ metre in width and a full metre in length for the layout. So I took off half of the pallet, leaving me with the other half. I know that it is still then rough and ready, but I'm prepared to put some time into it, to sand it, to prep it, to stain it, to bring it to life, to make this £3 pallet into a baseboard for a layout. Now, I'm sure some of you will then say, yes, but it hasn't got legs, it's not freestanding. No, that's true, but as you would have seen in my first video, I've got a shelf top for this to sit on, and its primary use will be to travel to some events, like the RailStuff Open Day, 6th of December, Uttoxeter, details online, where this will sit on top of a table. So I don't need legs. In fact, legs would be a nuisance. This is what I need. But I do need to make some further alterations as well. Now obviously there are gaps between the planks, and the planks from the other half are slightly shorter than the full length, so I will slot some of those bits in, cut them off and fit them in where they're needed. The track will pass across the bits where there is wood coverage at all times, and there'll be open gaps in the middle. But that's fine because I'll be adding scenics and other things in the middle. For other parts where there might be a siding, for example, that goes at an angle, I can cut these at an angle and fit them in as well. That should do it. Okay, with that little battle over and done with, I want to return to the comments section just one last time in this video, because before we end, I want to share a common theme that came up that really got me thinking. First of all, Chonkulise, another great name, wrote a fantastic comment. Originally he says go for 00, it'll make your life a lot easier. But then said, if you really want to pursue N-gauge, here's my suggestion. Railway power supply, £4. 12 volt 1 amp power supply, £4. Fish plates and wiring budget, £9. 3 lengths of FlexiTrack, £15. 1 point, £5 used. Kato pocket line set, £36. What? Kato pocket line set, 1 loco and 2 wagons, new, £36. £36. What on earth was pocket line? Never heard of it. So I decided to do some research. £36 rails of Sheffield, but out of stock. But pocket line became a theme. Our Beamish, as others have said, probably go with N-gauge and the Kato pocket line. Blasting Bruce, I'd vote for N-scale. I've been using an old Hornby controller. When my 5-year-old wanted a blue train, I grabbed an American locomotive for a tenner at a show. And then says, for £40 you could get something specific or even new. The Kato N-gauge pocket line electric train pack is just over £40 with 2 wagons on pre-order. Somebody must have it. Somebody must have it. Then Peter Jackson turns up of Cheadle Heath. Thanks for following for as long as you have, Peter. There are Kato pocket line sets available for £40 to £60. Wow. Now that really got me thinking. So, ladies and gents, I picked up the phone to Jonathan at Train Tracks the other day. I might have spent some money. Find out more in episode 3. Thanks for watching.